Want to go to Queensland now and catch up with the coalition leader there, the LNP leader, opposition leader Deb Frecklington. Thanks for joining us, Deb. Good to see you. You must seeing this stuff going on. I know it's happening in Queensland as well at the moment. Some pubs opening up and restaurants with numbers, 10 in the city, 20 in the regions. But it's just great to see that these businesses are opening again. They know they're not making a dollar. They're still losing money, but great to get the wheels of their operation running again.
Look, absolutely, Chris, and I think it's really important that people are able to get out and about again. It's really lifting the spirits. I just have to correct you just slightly. In Queensland, with the 20 number, it's actually not for regional Queensland. It is only for the outback areas, and I have been calling on Anastasia Palaszczuk to relax some of those regions that haven't had any COVID cases for a long time. And of course, I'm referring directly to places like the Wide Bay and, of course, Mackay and Townsville as well. So we'd love to see some of those other areas open up a bit quicker as well. But, gee, it's great to be able to go out when we can after midnight tonight and, hopefully be able to, sit at a table at a restaurant, even though it's only up to 10 or 20 if you're in the outback. But you're absolutely right, Chris. It'll lift spirits, and I can tell you it can't come soon enough for Queenslanders right now.
Now, tell us about this Virgin bid. We hear today that the administrators are expecting 8 separate bids from various entities that might be interested in trying to resurrect Virgin. But the Queensland government is not one of those. Cameron Dick, the Treasurer, says they'll try and deal with people who are shortlisted after that, but they're still intent on perhaps pumping $200 million of Queensland taxpayers' money into Virgin. You vehemently oppose this.
Yeah, look, absolutely, Chris, and rightfully so. I mean, the state government, particularly the Palaszczuk Labor government, they can't even run their own trains. The government air wing itself is grounded at the moment. This is a ludicrous idea. The new Treasurer, Cameron Dick, has shown that he is so out of depth and obviously out of touch with the budgetary situation that sits in Queensland. And he's just displayed that over the last couple of days with this bid using Queensland taxpayers' money to try to buy Virgin Airline. Chris, it is extremely important that we do have a second airline in Queensland, absolutely. And those regional towns need to have the security of that second airline to secure those air routes. We also want to protect the jobs right here in Queensland. But that's for the private sector to invest in, Chris, not the Queensland people.
It seems very odd if there's going to be 8 bids anyway, and so presumably they've got the funding to make it work. Then if they're going to make it work, why would the taxpayer come in after that with the $200 million? I suppose with a state election later this year, the critical question is what you would do if this deal goes through. If the Palaszczuk government does this deal, what will you do if you become Premier? Would you be looking to offload the taxpayer interest in Virgin?
Well, the first thing is I think that we've got to see, that's all a moot point, Chris, because we've got to see what the details of the offer from Cameron Dick and the Palaszczuk government. It changes daily. We've now heard this afternoon that QIC hasn't even been ready to get their paperwork in. So I'm highly sceptical that it will ever get to that. What I think, Chris, is that the state government should be putting this $200 million to a supercharged fighting fund for Queensland marketing and to get the tourism dollars back into Queensland. Now, for the next 12 months, we're going to be without those international visitors. We are in the fight of our lives against all the other states and possibly New Zealand to promote Queensland. That is where the Palaszczuk government should be focusing on.
I'll come back to tourism in a second. Yeah, I'll come back to tourism in a second, but it's very important because this deal could go through. You say it's a moot point, but you're going to have to contest an election. You'll be stuck with a government stake in the airline if the Palaszczuk government does it. Presumably, you wouldn't want to just take a loss on that. You couldn't commit to just selling out immediately. But would you, in principle, would you be looking to get out of that interest as soon as you probably could?
Well, Chris, I've always said that I wouldn't be looking to rip up any contracts. So I'd need to see, I would need to see the details of what the Palaszczuk government signed the state government up for. And I mean, this is what is so deeply concerning about the issue around the Virgin bid. We don't know the details. We've got a treasurer who is not over his brief, the premier who is unable to answer questions about the state government involvement in this. So, Chris, look, I'm not trying to avoid it, but I have to say to you, it's not good practice to rip up contracts because I don't even know what those contracts are. So let's have a look at it. But I will say this, is the people of Queensland deserve to have someone that has actually respects the taxpayers' money, and that's exactly what the LNP will do.
Talking about tourism, there's a bit of a focus even from the Prime Minister today saying we could boost, bolster, encourage domestic tourism behind our secure international borders. But your Queensland border is closed at the moment. When do you think that Anastasia Palaszczuk should open that border? The first step, surely, to encouraging any tourism.
Well, look, absolutely. And my personal opinion is that the borders should be relaxed. But I think if Queenslanders and Northern New South Wales people, or for that matter for anyone from other states, are going to hold their breath to wait for the Premier to make a decision, well, I think that, they'd better be careful because, unfortunately, the Premier, Anastasia Palaszczuk, here in Queensland has shown she's not good at being a first mover. Now, I'd like to see the borders relaxed. I'd like to see people being able to travel into this beautiful state of ours. Now, we also have to remember, Chris, that we have to follow all the health advice. We've got to be careful about that. But what we do need to see is not be left behind the other states when it comes to the domestic tourism dollar. Now, Queensland has fallen behind nearly every other state, and Queenslanders just wouldn't believe this, but we're a sunshine state. We have the best product to sell, and that's exactly why I'm calling on Anastasia Palaszczuk to put her $200 million that she's trying to put into a failed Virgin bid, put it into a supercharged domestic marketing campaign so we can once again become the best state when it comes to tourism. I mean, we have the product. We just need to make sure that people know that we're here. We also need a lead time. So surely to goodness, the border can't be shut forever.
Now, there's been a coronavirus infection detected in a nursing home in Rockhampton. That's, of course, just where we don't want infections. What's the latest on that?
Well, Chris, this is deeply distressing, and my heart goes out to and my prayers go to the nurses, the staff and, of course, the residents of that North Rockhampton state government-owned and run aged care centre. We know that the elderly are very susceptible to coronavirus, but there are so many questions. I've asked for the Premier to have an inquiry into what has gone wrong in this state government-run aged care centre in Rockhampton. What we do know is allegedly that a nurse has been at work from Brisbane, drove up to Rocky, has been at work from around the 3rd of May. Some 12 days ago, showing symptoms from the 5th of May and has tested positive and continued to go to work.
We just can't have that. We just can't have the people who are feeling ill or feeling symptoms going to work. We are out of time, Deb. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be here, Chris. Thanks.